On the 2nd of April, Martin Fowler's site published Birgitta Böckeler's piece on harness engineering for coding agent users. It gave the industry a vocabulary for the thing we have been building and selling for a year. So we did the uncomfortable thing. We ran her questions against our own agent harness. It failed in 4 places, every one of them silent. Her framing is 2 kinds of control. Guides run before the agent acts. Instruction files, coding standards, tool schemas, captured procedures, policies. Guides are cheap to write, which is exactly why teams accumulate them. Sensors run after the agent acts. Tests, linters, hooks, drift checks, traces. Sensors are expensive to build, and she puts one hard requirement on them. The message has to name the fix because an agent reads that line and acts on it. A sensor that says failed is noise. A sensor that says here is what to change is a control. Get the balance wrong and it fails in 2 directions. Sensors with no guides. The agent makes the same mistake, gets corrected, makes it again next week. Nothing accumulates. You are paying for correction forever. Guides with no sensors is worse. Rules. Nobody checks. They go stale. Then they actively mislead, and the whole time the documentation looks like coverage. That is the common one. Excellent written standards, and nothing that fails when somebody ignores them. There is a loop underneath this, and it is the human's job now. A sensor fires. You fix the instance. Fine. But when the same failure happens twice, the fix is not the instance. The fix is the harness. That is the steering loop. And here is how I know we had never run it. 2 separate commits in our own engine, whose entire content is adding the same missing character strip, same bug, fixed by hand, twice, with nothing added to stop a third. Nobody ever asked why it came back. Her taxonomy classifies kinds of control. It does not say what a harness has to cover. That is the part we already had. 12 primitives, from instruction all the way to governance. Lay one over the other and you get a single question per layer. What kind of control carries this one? And that produces a rule that changes how a review is scored. A layer carried only by guides caps at 3 out of 5. Level 4 means enforced by the system rather than by discipline. So show me what breaks when someone ignores this rule. If nothing breaks, it is a 3. Here is what that scoring did to us. Instruction went from 2 to 4. The contributor guide told people to run 2 things that no longer existed. Verification went from 1 to 4, no pre-integration checks at all, and 3 correct checkers sitting in the repository that nothing ever ran. Governance went from 1 to 4. Observability went from 1 to 2, and it stopped there. Our own rule is that the overall level is the minimum across layers, not the average. 3 layers jumped to 4 and the overall score moved from 1 to 2. On an average, we would have claimed 3.5 and shipped a press release. Now the 4. None of them produced an error message. First, a sensor that could not fail. Our check for leaked personal data swallowed its own errors, so it reported clean while searching nothing. Switched on properly, it found 8 hits immediately. Second, undeclared authority. A permission setting lived only in an untracked local file. The old check confirmed the value was legal. It never confirmed that anyone had chosen it. Third, a capability routing on nothing. One skill's metadata was invalid, so the parser dropped it and the tool fell back to reading the title. It had been picking up work by accident for weeks. Fourth, a loop that depended on English. The self-healing step decided whether anything had changed by reading human-readable output. Change the language setting on the machine, and the only closed loop in the system stops, silently. One more thing, and it is the good part. The continuous integration we added as part of the fix failed twice on its first runs, both times on assumptions we had not checked. The tool we built to catch our mistakes caught our mistakes. That is not a setback. That is the steering loop working for the first time. So go and score your own harness. Every layer carried only by a document is a 3, and you already know which ones those are. Mattei Systems. Cybersecurity in every phase of what we do.